Hi everyone! I've just finished packing. I have come to the end of my homestay programme and I feel really sad. I'm definitely returning home 10 pounds heavier, hundreds of mosquito bites and so many memories. It for me has been the most epic experience ever, and to be honest I don't want to go home. I don't feel like I'm ready, but it is what it is. And today in this video what I'd like to do is share some tips and advice for anyone else who is looking to do the homestay program. Okay, so my first piece of advice would be to make sure that you attend the orientation day, which takes place I think a few weeks before you fly out to China. It's just a great way to meet the other tutors who will be basically in the same boat as you, so it'll be nice to meet up with them or at least stay in touch while you're out in China. My second piece of advice would be try and add your family on Skype and try and speak to them before you come out to China. It's just nice to kind of get to know them, the family overall, and just their lifestyle really. And I think you'll probably feel a little less anxious going to China. I mean, it personally worked for me. I had a number of conversations with my family before I came here. So my third piece of advice would be when you get to your host family's house, just try and ask about their daily routine. As in, what time do they wake up? What time do they have breakfast? For example, with my host family, they had set timings for everything. So for example, breakfast was always served at 9, lunch was always served at 12, and dinner was always served at 6. So in terms of breakfast, I made sure I'd always wake up for 8 o'clock. I think that didn't happen for the first 2 days because I was so jet lagged, but after, like, you know, had to wake up for 8, always down for 9 o'clock, made sure I had breakfast with the family. It's just being polite. The last thing you want to do is come across rude and disrespectful. Also, I would suggest that you should at least offer to wash up. My host family were lovely, they would always refuse, but what I would do, and I'm sure this is something that they appreciated, is say if everyone else had eaten and I would take longer than others, when I'd put my dishes in the sink, I'd make sure I washed my dishes. So, you know, again, it's just being polite and respectful. My fourth advice would be to communicate with your family as much as you can. I think it's so true when they say communication is key. I'll give you an example, it's really silly, but it worked for me. I think by the second week, I was really craving Western food, and you know, I've been having Chinese food for breakfast, lunch, dinner, and you know, I think it's quite natural that you start craving your home food. So I asked my host mum, I was like, look, you know, is it possible for us to maybe have pizza for lunch? And she was like, yeah, that's fine. I came down for lunch, I kid you not, on the table not only was there pizzas, there was fish and chips and there was pasta. You know, I've never had all of it together at once, ever. So for me, I was really taken back, and you know, I was so thankful, and I'm just so glad, like, I spoke to my host mum about it and she basically made it happen. So if there's anything that's bothering you, just make sure you let your host family know, and I'm sure they'd be okay with it. Okay, so lastly, in terms of the teaching aspect, we are expected to teach 15 hours per week, which is just over 2 hours per day. So I think we need to remember that the students are very young, and it's very easy for them to get bored. So it's important for us to have a lot of activities ready for them. So what worked for me was I started off always by reading. So I think we had 20 minutes of reading where both my students, which were 2 girls, both read to me, followed by I'd give them 12 keywords. So the keywords were based on any topic, so it could have been body parts, or 12 colours, or 12 items of clothing. And those are the 12 keywords that we looked at for the rest of the lesson. From the keywords we would have discussions. So for example, the colour of my sofa is blue, the colour of my walls are green, and from there I'd get them to do a written activity, which usually was fill in the blanks. So they would have to fill in the blanks, but at the same time write the full sentences as well. From there, we would play bingo. So bingo was a really good activity. The girls loved being competitive. You know, I had stickers ready for them as well, which they absolutely loved. And then from there, I think we'd play, yeah, hangman. So I would choose one of the words out of the keywords I had given them. So it was easy for them to guess the word. And the girls loved having a go themselves too. So that worked really well. And then after hangman, we'd read again, but this time I would read to them and I'd ask them a lot of questions. Another thing that we did, we'd watch a Disney movie, and sometimes we'd watch it in English. So they would ask me questions and, you know, I'd explain it to them what's happening. Or we'd watch it in Chinese. So their task was to translate the Chinese to me in English. Luckily, I had seen these movies, so I knew what they were saying, was it correct or wrong. So make sure you've seen the movie before you do that activity. And yeah, I mean, it's something that worked for me. It might not work for you, but you know, just try it and have a lot of activities ready. I think that helps. One thing that I didn't do that I wish I did do is I wish I printed out worksheets. So maybe on like word searches maybe. So the 12 keywords that I gave them, maybe have a word search on that. So it's maybe something you could print out before you come to China, and that'll be a really good activity for the students. Finally, I'd like to say a big thank you to my host family for putting up with me. I had the most epic experience ever, and I wish I could stay here a bit longer. I've actually been saying to them, please adopt me. They are like the biggest foodies ever, just like myself, and I feel like I have been placed with the most perfect family for myself. I will definitely be keeping in touch with them. I have added them on WeChat, so you're not getting rid of me that easily. I will be back in China, maybe a different city, but I will definitely come visit, I think. And if you guys are ever in London, come visit me, please. And lastly, I'd like to say thank you to Teach English in China, who've made this happen. I think I've wanted to teach and travel for a very long time, and I've just been kind of putting it off, but for me, this experience was literally so epic, and I'm definitely going to be signing up for it again for next year. So thank you.